Show me a
Oh, and we're live. Look at that. We're lit. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 52 of Geek Life Live, your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. I'm your host, pro gamer, Jake the Great, aka Gonzo Gone Live. Joining me this week from the coziest of corners, it's the littlest of Nellies, the littlest Nelly. How are you doing tonight, little Nelly? Or littlest Nelly? The little Nelly. Lil Nelly. There you go. Rap name.
Lil Nell, all the way. I'm doing so good. I have new stuffies. If y'all haven't seen them, they're in the back here. I don't know that I've shown them off properly in that cozy corner, so they're here. I've also been, since our last show, absolutely obsessed with unpacking. It was like, I think number 6, but it's number 1 in my heart now. 100%. Yeah.
On the indie games, yeah, that's a callback.
It was really good.
And so,
really
yeah, it's definitely, a lot of people loved it, and it looked a lot of fun. That's the first time I had heard of it, so I'm definitely going to check it out myself, and hearing that you're back into it, that's awesome. Awesome. And quiet on the set, back from probably filming something that you're going to watch soon. It's the space nymph herself, Bronwyn the Warrior Princess. How are you doing tonight, Bron?
Hi, Jake. I'm doing well. I climbed a mountain this morning, and now I'm here with all of you. So day couldn't get better.
Yeah, when you start it by climbing mountains, it's only downhill from there.
Ain't no mountain high enough to keep Bronwyn.
Am I right? You're welcome.
All the way.
Okay. But no, we're glad you're here. We're glad that you made it up and down the mountain safe and sound. I bet that was amazing. Some great views, probably. It snowed yesterday here in Virginia, so the only thing I've seen is snow melt all day. And so...
Nope. But, Texas trauma.
I know, yeah. You got to watch out. These cyclones or snow blizzards or whatever the hell, they have been hitting us hard. We're almost in spring, though. And speaking of, it's almost time to go outside. What are you guys doing these days? Nelly, you said you're playing some unpacking earlier. What else are you guys up to? How are you surviving, I guess, the long winter?
It's so hot here in LA. I mean, it's been like 70s.
Nice.
It's too cold.
Oh, dude, that's hot.
I went to the mountains a couple weeks ago so that I could get some cold weather, and there was snow on the ground. I went skiing, but it was 60 degrees out as I was skiing.
That's and there was still snow?
Yeah. Well,
that's not fake government snow. Everybody knows about the fake government snow.
They have a combination of real snow and fake snow at this particular summit in Big Bear.
It was meant to be a joke.
I love Savage Patch over here. Noticed the new haircut, Bron, which I did not immediately. Shame on me.
Looks good.
Awesome. Phenomenal.
It's so good. South by Southwest has also started in Austin, where I'm at. And 10 out of 10, if you have the ability, I would recommend going. I got to go to a work event today where I got to see a manned drone, like a human-sized drone, which is different than a helicopter. I'm not 100% sure how yet, but I've been told it's different than a helicopter. And it was super hardcore.
It does look different than a helicopter. Like if you're in the Discord, the Nerd Herd, which I'll probably shout out plenty of times later, but if you're in the Discord, then you probably saw it. Nelly and them posted some photos of it earlier. It looks. I mean, the first thing I saw, I was like, future. That's all I could think. Like, and future is now.
It was so cool.
South by is always awesome, though. That's a really cool experience. I'm glad you guys got to go. Thanks for shouting that out, Caper Doodle. Awesome. But we have a great show planned for y'all. Run like down spirit. It's time for the rundown. First up, we've got all the nerdy news you need to know, from Homelander landing on house arrest to to the enemy that one punch can't one punch, hackers. Then get ready for some hot takes as we're giving our early reactions to the latest Batman movie. And next, we'll be diving deep into this week's deep dive on time travel, which transitions oh so smoothly into our top Zen this week, which is really voted on the Nerd Herd as the top 10 time machines of all time. But that is enough downing of the run. Bron, give the people those headlines. But first, Doodle, do that dandy.
Tonight at 11.
John Hauser test of the emergency meteor warning system. In other news, I do the cha-cha like a sissy girl.
Very heavy.
Good evening, folks. First up, the news for today. The Boys star Anthony Starr was arrested and given a suspended prison sentence. So Anthony Starr, aka Homelander from The Boys, has been arrested and given a suspended prison sentence. The Amazon actor was served 12 months for assaulting a chef in Spain. According to the Daily Mail, The Boys star was working on a project with Guy Ritchie when he ran into some trouble. While in Costa Blanca, the actor punched Bathuel Araujo inside of a pub. The chef explained that he had been struck twice and had a glass smashed in his face. Pub ownership quickly threw Starr out, but the situation started up again once Araujo went outside. From there, the superhero TV star was taken into custody and had a very quick trial. That's just so Homelander of him.
It is very Homelander of him.
It is.
Our
imitating life.
Right? Our next story, a man is sentenced to 3 years in federal prison over a Pokemon card. A Georgia man has been sentenced to 3 years in prison after using COVID-19 relief money to purchase a rare Charizard Pokemon card. The DOJ announced the sentencing in a news release issued Monday. The 31-year-old man was awarded an economic injury disaster loan for $85,000 after claiming to own a small business that supported 10 employees. These loans were created as part of Congress's pandemic relief plan and were intended to be used for businesses to pay workers and rent. Once he got the money, however, the DOJ said he used $57,789 of it to buy a 9.5 gem mint rated card. Gotta catch them all, I guess.
Charges, that is.
Next up, Dune Part 2 will leave the door open for a third movie. Could even lead to a total of 6 sequels. Upcoming sci-fi sequel Dune Part 2 will not necessarily bring the epic franchise to an end, with writer John Spates revealing that it will leave the door open for a third movie. Speaking with the playlist, Spates even suggested that in the end, there could be up to 7 installments in the Dune franchise when all is said and done. That said, he did assure Dune fans the upcoming sequel will act as an ending of sorts, completing the story told in the novel, in which was begun with the last year's Dune, Part 1. It will simply leave the door ajar for more. Dune and go messing with this year like that, John.
Solid joke.
Okay.
She nailed that one. You nailed it. You really did.
I wish y'all could have seen Jake's
Don't
face.
go messing
Please.
with us like that, John. There you go.
Don't you go.
So pleased with itself.
What is that?
I feel like
It's a new
everyone heard
follower?
it.
Oh,
Me.
new follower. Thanks, Bethany.
Welcome, Bethany,
Hi, Bethany.
to our jokes.
Yay. Dead Space remake is targeting early 2023 release date. Buckle up, sci-fi horror game fans. The Dead Space remake is coming along, and according to its developers, the team is now targeting an early 2023 release window. Following the latest developer update, which did a deep dive into the realistic audio systems in Deep Space Remake, the developers announced that they are targeting an early 2023 release window for this remake. We'll be shaking with anticipation until then. And finally, multiple anime shows delayed after Toei Animation is hacked. New episodes of 4 different anime series have been delayed after a recent hacking incident suspended some of Toei Animation's internal systems. According to Siliconera, Toei Animation became the target of an online hack on March 6th when an unauthorized third party attempted to access the company's network, which resulted in its online store and internal systems temporarily shutting down as a safety measure. The suspension of those systems will affect the airing dates of some episodes of the anime series. The shutdown has impacted the broadcasting schedules for 4 anime titles in total, with new episodes of Dragon Quest: The Adventures of Dai, One Piece, Digimon Ghost Game, and Delicious Party Pretty Cure all affected by the incident. New episodes will not air as planned, with updated airing schedules released at a later date. Wait, they're still making episodes of One Piece?
The
I
show that
think
goes on forever.
that's the big news there, right? Is we are still getting episodes of One Piece. I mean, it's going to be a little paused. So if you're currently still watching One Piece episodically, I guess, which Jesus, there's probably people out there that are doing that.
They probably are.
Uh,
Like Euphoria fans, like they do
Oh my
like One
God.
Piece parties.
That
Also,
would be-
they're still making Digimon, like
They're still
Digimon
making
Ghost Game.
Digimon.
That was the news to me. That's what. No, absolutely not.
That is insane. How crazy do you guys think this Anthony Starr story is? Is he too much like Homelander? Do you think it's going to affect the show? It looks like it's already been sentenced and out the door, which is crazy, by the way. Like they were quick in Spain.
Spain has no jokes.
Yeah,
Seems
they
like-
arrested him and were like, by the way, which I was reading about it, and I learned is today I learned. In a lot of European countries, if it's kind of like a quick one-off thing, you pay the person that you hurt, like the victim, and then they don't like to build up prisons with people, especially if they don't have like a background in crime, right? Like I guess Anthony hasn't been beating the shit out of people in Spain for long, and so like they were like, all right, you kind of get a slap on the wrist and then you're out of here. But it really it's crazy because the cast they were all asked at I think Comic-Con one time who was the most like their character, and they all said Anthony Starr was the most like Homelander.
Scary. That's so scary.
Do you think he just Jared Leto too close to the sun? He was
I
just
mean-
like, that's my character.
I think when you play a god, it can sometimes go to your head, Like I think, too much it can go to your ego a little bit. And The Boys is pretty big, but it's not like I wouldn't say it's come on, Anthony Starr, you're well known, but you're not like that guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, if
But
I
now
saw
that I
him in
said
a
that-
coffee shop,
now that I
it would
said that
just
he's
be
gonna beat me up and
Yeah. If I saw Anthony Starr in a coffee shop, he would just be another like chiseled white dude to me, if I
Yeah.
have to be completely honest.
that
I
is
heard his
true.
name and I'm like, who is that? And then I'm like, oh, okay, I had to look it up. Oh, okay. Someone from The Boys. Oh, okay. Don't even recognize your name.
That's fair. I guess my big question is who's buying their Pokemon cards with their COVID relief money? I
Right?
guess I've spent an obscene amount of money on Pokemon cards over the last year. If y'all have been in the Discord chat, you've seen what I've done with the celebrations. We completed that collection. So is 3 years enough? Like almost 58K on a single Pokemon card.
Yeah. And it's like it's not just the Pokemon card. We've heard a lot of these things from this COVID relief being abused, and that's the kind of like craziest part of it is like if you really boil it down, it doesn't matter what he spent the money on. At the end of the day, he abused funds that were needed for other people that could have really used it for something.
Yeah.
But
People with 10 actual employees. to, feed kids.
exactly. And I was actually gonna make a joke, but I didn't want to type it all out. That like by 10 employees, did he mean like his party? Like was he talking about like, oh yeah, my boy Snorlax, my boy Gengar, I got a Pikachu over
They're like
here.
the whole crew.
Yeah, and so like that dude, like I don't think 3 years is enough. I think like selfish crimes like that, like we give people longer than that for like a gram of weed, man. Like come on,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Most people in Georgia do not make $57,000 a year, and he just blew it on like a
Yeah.
single card that was meant to go to other people.
That's
Like,
facts.
Nuts.
I would say the all of America. What is like the median household income in this place?
I'm
I
gonna
don't
Google it right now.
I don't feel. Yeah, thank you. Jamie, pull that up. Do we got it? Oh, never mind. That's Joe Rogan. I don't have a Jamie.
Oh
Um,
no.
You
Oh,
have
God.
But while we're looking that up, is 7 dunes too many dunes?
It's way too many Dunes. Like seriously, I was reading Dune. So this is where the first movie ends. And so like all of this for next 6 movies would be ridiculous. So I guess they're
Yeah.
gonna finish the book in the next movie, and then I don't know what's up with the 5 they'll do after that, 5 or 6 they'll do after that, but maybe they'll be exploring this world a little bit more and trying to milk every last cent out of this franchise. Or I think that are there more books, Jake?
Yeah, I was gonna say there are a shitload of books. there are a few more Dune books. That one, they actually, I think the reason this first one was apparently only like the first quarter of that first book that you're reading right now, and so
No.
this
It was like more than half.
was it more than half. And
more
so
than
the second movie will probably be the second half of that one, and then I'm assuming the other ones they're just gonna keep going. I think he wrote like 6 books total or something,
Yeah.
but
So
he died at one point, I think.
yeah, apparently there's 6 official books, and I had to Google this because I personally did not enjoy watching Dune. I also have never read the books, but like I was like, if it's like 6 or 7 more of like that Dune, that's too many. I don't want to do that. I don't have the time in my life. It's too much. But there's 6 total books that he wrote, and then there's 9 total books, like 3 after he died, and there's also a like 12-part graphic novel and another 12-part graphic novel in the works that hasn't even been approved yet, and like a bunch of like side stories about the different houses and like the different issues that they have. So there's apparently a lot of it, but if all of them are as absolutely mind-numbing as I found the first Dune to be, then I don't want it. Mm-mm.
I mean, I was expecting 2 movies because I knew they had to
Yeah.
finish the book, but I wasn't really expecting anything more than that. These are also a lot of really big actors. I don't know if they want to like only work on this for the next like 6 movies.
They could just do like
That
Zendaya
is
did
true.
and just be in it for like 3 minutes.
That is
Well,
true.
That's
'Cause
it.
More in the next movie. It's just her character was in like 2 scenes in the whole book.
Yeah.
And half of the book.
I think she's gonna be way more involved in the second half and in that other movie. I think it's funny that if you didn't like it, because I loved it. I thought it was awesome. But
Yeah.
7 Dunes is almost too many Dunes, because I was literally like, I was talking to somebody about Star Wars the other day, and I was like, man, or we were talking in the Discord about Star Wars, actually. I think like Matt and a few other folks, like they were just kind of almost Star Warsed out. Disney cranked out a lot of shit whenever they bought it, and so it's just like, but then Warner Brothers, Dune, it has a lot of titles, so I mean, too many Dunes coming to Fox.
A shout out to Savage Patch's comment where he said 7 dunes is at least 1 whole desert.
At least 1 whole desert. Yeah, we're gonna at least have a whole desert.
It's a good joke.
That is a good joke. That is a good joke. There are a lot of houses, so there is a lot to go into, but but kind of in the same realm of that, our top story tonight is the Batman's big boom. Batman has been a booming, and Matt Reeves brought in the same cinematographer, or I think not cinematographer, but the same like visuals guy. I'm completely ignorant to what he's called. That did Dune actually for the Batman, and it's likely to become the second highest grossing film at the domestic box office since the start of the pandemic. Matt Reeves' fresh take on young Batman has already become the biggest pandemic-era success for Warner Brothers, and with that success has come a flurry of opportunities to build on the new world that he has created. An HBO Max spin-off show that focuses on the Penguin has just been given the straight-to-series order, so we will be sure to get plenty more of Colin Farrell's amazing Oswald Cobblepot. But the bad stories don't stop there. Whatever the fuck they say. The viral marketing website for the Batman posted a new entry Friday, March 11th, and it was a pretty big one. Using the Riddler's code, which, by the way, if you don't know, if you didn't stay for the after credits scene, DC's not like saying, hey, we're going to be like Marvel. DC's like, yeah, we're going to be a little bit like Marvel, but we're not going to give you this full-blown like whatever at the end of a movie. So I left because I heard it was just like a question mark in a website, and I was like, I'll check the website out of the house. And so, but anyway, they made a random drop, and using the Riddler's code, the site delivered a message suggesting that the Batman will officially have a sequel coming, as if we didn't already know that based off the success, which has been heavily implied, but hey, confirmations are confirmations, right? And if it wasn't enough, another Bat spinoff has also been in the works after going through some creative differences. Reeves revealed on a recent podcast that the originally proposed spinoff would have been centering around Gotham PD and crooked cops and working within it, but they have since then switched that plot to be more around Arkham Asylum, which I think is a great pivot for that show. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. But do you guys think these TV series will help flesh out the new Batverse? Is it too much Batman? Kind of like, was it too much Dune? Is this too much Batman?
I mean, I think that, you don't have to consume every bit of content. So maybe this means that some people will gravitate more towards what they're interested in. And in that sense, it's not, because it's making a different flavor for each person. But then there are some people Dawson, who's gonna watch every single one of them.
and me,
Yeah,
and Cape.
and me. Yeah, yep. I think it's only too much if it isn't done well, and that's such a big question for DC as a whole, is that they're really hit or miss. Like they put out, especially TV shows, like I hate most of the DC universe, that like the Arrowverse, most of it's just soap opera-y, and I don't enjoy it. I don't anticipate this going in that direction, which might be nice, but I also don't know that I want to watch all of these shows at the same time, and I'm a little bit worried about like the timing of it. Like, am I gonna have to watch 2 Batman shows at the same time and then also go to the movies to see a sequel? Because that's overwhelming.
Oh, that is true. That's a lot. I mean, if they're all tied in together, then it does start to get a little convoluted, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. I mean, shit, like you said, am I gonna have to watch the HBO series? But then I think if they do it similar to how Marvel is in a way, then it's not necessarily like you'll have to watch the series, I think, to understand them. Like, because I think Multiverse of Madness, while it's gonna have helped to have watched WandaVision, I don't think it's gonna be necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Like, it leaves off where What If ends, but like it's also very clear about exactly what that means, and it feels like they're introducing the characters on their own anyway. So.
No, 100%. What do you guys think about the shift from Gotham PD to more of an Arkham vibe? Is that less or more exciting for you?
So much more exciting. I've always been so fascinated with that whole Arkham world, and those are my favorite Batman video game was Arkham Asylum. Just like the creepiness and kind of psychologically exploring these villains, because they all have such unique psychological motivations.
Yeah.
I love to see that. I'm way more interested in that than the police department.
Yeah, I know. Do we need another? I mean, because Gotham was a show called Gotham. I think it was on CBS. It was about like the Gotham PD and everything, and like it was a young Gordon. And I get that this would be completely different and on HBO, but like at the same time, it's been done. It's been done. Give us the Asylum, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Nelly?
I really loved Gotham as a series because of that, but I think, and we'll get into this later too, like the thing that I love about new Batman content is getting some more of the lore. And there is a point to where I feel like we've gotten a lot of the lore of Gotham PD. Like we've heard a lot about who that is within the Batman universe. But I don't know that we've gotten as much out of Arkham. And what I'm excited about personally, because I'm such a fanboy about it, is that Harleen Quinzel was a doctor at Arkham Asylum. Like that's her backstory, and we have an inkling that the Joker is going to be a part of the sequel, and so I want to see that combine, because I think it's going to be really interesting, because I don't think that the like Margot Robbie Harley Quinn fits into this universe at all. I don't think that makes sense.
And it would be good to see her before too, like to have her be a big character before her transformation, and to see that whole thing happen. And like not a dumb music video-esque cutscene or like a montage of her and Jared Leto. Like,
it would be amazing to watch that played out in a more I don't want to say gritty, but like just a less theatrical kind of way, almost more psychological. The Joker broke a psychologist at this was a college-educated person. You know what I mean? Like. And I don't think like that's thought about enough, like who Harley Quinn was before she met the Joker, you know?
Agreed. A lot of people treat Harley Quinn like just a sex object, and there's a part of that where it's understandable because of who she is with the Joker, but there's also Harleen Quinzel, who literally talks to Harley Quinn as a separate entity in the comics, which is so much more interesting, and I hope that we get some pieces of that out of Arkham. But I don't know what storyline it's fitting in. I don't know if it's going to make sense for this universe, so we'll see.
Yeah. Maybe she's just a background character, you know what I mean, that we hear about every now and then. Even then, I love a good Easter egg, you know, like if they're just like in the season finale or like whatever, say it's just one series or just one season, like a limited series, and at the end of it, it's like, and we're getting a new doctor, Harley Quinzel or something, and you're just like, oh shit,
that's my bitch. Yeah, that would be me.
But I guess, what are your guys' thoughts on using the Ratalata or whatever? I can't ever say it.
Ratalata.
But as like a marketing tool for sequels and announcements and stuff like that, you know, the Dark Knight Rises, or the Dark Knight, not the Dark Knight Rises, which I'm sure it did some viral marketing stuff too. But The Dark Knight did a lot of things very similar, where like I think they sent out like phones and cakes and did a lot of kind of like hidden stuff within, but that was leading up to the announcement. This is actually like a post movie keep the hype going website Riddler scheme in a way, right? And so what do you guys think about this and just what it could mean for the sequel and everything?
I think it's
I-
genius.
Yeah, I thought this was like a super cool way to use like an omni-channel marketing, because so many people consume so much content, and especially with the delays that we saw from the Batman coming out, I think it's smart to give people something that they can like dive into and be obsessed with and just like really, really dig into in the meantime. I think that was really smart. Like it's already like open on my desktop. I'm gonna be looking through it and be like, is this the Flashpoint that I wanted? Like, I don't know yet.
And they can update it at any time and cause the whole nerd, internet to go crazy for a little bit, like
just start like gaslighting us and like updating the files. Yeah, that sounds on brand.
they could do all kinds of crazy shit. They could upload anything to it and people would be like, what does that mean? Like before there's going to be 100 TikToks about it. So there's going to be a breakdown. And so, but that's not all the Batman we have for you this week, folks. We're getting Batman heavy because it's been a Batman heavy news week. It's been a Batman heavy cycle in general. It's been the #1 movie at the box office. So between all the bad news, all the bat news, bat-related news, bat-adjacent news is what I'm going to start saying, to the full 3-hour experience that was the Batman. We've got our thoughts, but before we dive right into them, do that dandy. Be vengeance. First off, I mean, we got to get into just the general kind of thoughts on the movie and everything like that. But, we talked earlier about Batman, how big of a smash hit it has been. And this week we just really wanted to kind of get into the nitty gritty of what our thoughts were, what we were thinking, how we were feeling, how it made us feel, inside, because that's all that matters when it comes to entertainment. So let's start actually though, before seeing the movie. What did you guys think that you were going to get out of this version of the Batman before you went in and saw the movie? Just based off of the hype.
I had no expectations.
Expectations.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any expectations. I don't even think I watched the trailer. I was just like, okay.
Oh, nice. I love going into a movie without even seeing the trailer, though. Like sometimes that's even a better experience. Nelly, what about you? What was something that what did you think this movie was gonna be kind of like with this Matt Reeves Batman? I mean, because Robert Pattinson, we got that announcement way early, and people were freaking out early on, like, oh, he's gonna be a terrible Batman. What were you genuinely thinking before you went into the theater for this one?
I had a feeling we were going to get an earlier Batman, but I thought we were going to get more of like a Bruce Wayne heavy kind of content. Like this Batman was very the Batman, and like I have a lot of opinions on that and how the story shaped that I think were really smart and cool. But I genuinely thought this was going to be Bruce Wayne content, and that was why they picked Robert Pattinson. So that was a flip. That was a flip for me that I thought was smart and greatly appreciated.
Bethany said she expected the painted on abs that Rob Pat had on in Twilight.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Actually, I mean, but Rob Pat, he put on some weight. He looked good. This was a year 2 going into year 3 Batman. I didn't know it was going to be. I didn't know how early it was going to be. I really thought we were going to be doing year 1. So I thought it was interesting that we were almost a little bit further along. But did it live up to you guys' expectations? Like Braun, when you said you kind of had them low, did it exceed them though? Did it go over even with the low ones? Were you like, well, fuck, that was way better than I thought it was gonna be?
So I don't think low expectations. Like I didn't think it would be bad. I just didn't have anything that I was particularly anticipating. I guess one thing maybe is like action, and it did have a lot of action. It had some like that crazy car chase scene. It was like epic. I love that part. So it lived up to that kind of energy that you would expect from a Batman movie. But it was also unexpected, and I guess in comparing it to Batmans that I'd seen before, like it did seem very different. It did seem like very much a detective story that you're kind of unraveling. It was a lot more emo Batman than the ones I've seen before. It felt different, so I think it stands as a very unique interpretation of Batman.
Yeah, no, I like emo Batman. That's a great.
I know.
Nelly-
Savage is saying it was a noir film, and you're saying an emo film, and I think both of those are the same thing now.
They are. They're very close.
Yeah, it felt
Emo
like
noir.
Emo noir.
emo
That is.
noir.
That's my personal brand now.
When people ask, well, it's kind of like an emo noir, kind of like detective.
Sad
What
about
about you,
Dune.
Nelly? Did it live up to your expectations? How so? How not?
So I put up a poll that kind of touches on this. It lived up to my expectations. God, it's a big word. It's a big word for Elmo. It hit a lot of really, really great notes with storyline. Like, my one expectation out of this that I wanted was that we get a new kind of Batman, right? We get someone that we didn't see in all of the other Batman content that we've seen come to screen. But the thing that didn't live up to my expectation is that this movie was delayed for 9 months, and I still felt like the editing was not as crisp as it should have been, especially it just felt bloated. Like, the whole film just felt really bloated, and things just went on for too long. And maybe it's because I just watched too much TikTok content, but I felt like we could have moved on. We could have just gone on from scenes way faster.
I agree. There was so much unnecessary stuff. Like, stop trying to make this romance between Batman and Catwoman work. There is no chemistry between the two of them. I don't care anytime they're on screen together. I do not care. Just get rid of those scenes of her by herself being badass, and less of Rob Pattinson awkward emo staring at her.
That is a genuinely good criticism, I think, for the movie. I did feel like they could have Rogue One'd it. I think Rogue One is a great example of when you have these two powerful male and female characters, and the whole time you kind of have a feeling of oh shit, is there something here? But then in the end, they just keep it friendship. They keep it light, keep it a partnership. They kind of just sit there and watch the world explode. Spoilers for Rogue One if you haven't seen that movie. But it was just I didn't really I didn't feel like they needed that. I didn't feel like they needed the bat and the cat, that whole back and forth. But luckily, I don't think Zoe Kravitz, overall, I think she did a great job as Catwoman. I think Robert Pattinson did a good job, as Batman, and I think his Bruce Wayne for year 3 or year 2 would be really good, because he would be very tired. He literally fights crime every night. And so that's just, I think he kind of nailed that whole this guy looks like a zombie, He
never sees the light of day.
Yeah, no, he's never out during the day. He's completely just
his hair is always in front of his face, just always.
Well, because it's one of the major plot lines that I really enjoyed, is that this is a Batman who isn't yet connected with the strength of being Bruce Wayne. And a lot of people touch on it throughout the movie. Alfred talks about it, and he's I need you to be Bruce Wayne for this thing. The new mayor, Mayor Real, talks about it, and she's Bruce Wayne could be doing so much more for the city. It's because she doesn't know he's Batman. She doesn't know what he's doing for the city. But this is a Batman who is just the Batman, thinking that the only way to solve issues is all of the punchy, punch your way out of a situation, but can't quite recognize the power of being a Wayne family member. There is no Wayne Enterprises even. You can see that in his tech, that it's not as advanced as you see a lot of year 5 Batmans, because there is no what's his name? It's Falcius? Not Falcius. The F name. No, his tech guy at Wayne Enterprises.
Lucius Fox.
Falcius is a perfect combination of Lucius Fox if you put it backwards. I'm just gonna say that right now. That's a flawless little date name right there. But yeah, I just feel that was a really smart decision to do, because you got to see Bruce Wayne fumble as the Batman, and not quite know his tech, and not have all of the biggest, baddest, most upgraded military versions of things.
No, I think it was so early that it was definitely a Batman that wasn't quite there, as we could tell by the parachute scene where he completely smashes his fucking face.
right into that bridge.
But I guess, let's go high before we go low. What were some of your favorite parts of the movie? And Bron, we'll start with you.
So I liked every time that Zoe Kravitz was like fighting or doing like cool motorcycle riding in that amazing leather jumpsuit that I want to get. It's incredible. I loved like the whole costume design was actually pretty cool. Like I liked that very understated like cat mask that she had. It was literally just like a cut beanie with like the tiny like little ears.
Yeah,
like, I liked that.
You got to think she's also not Catwoman yet.
Yeah.
She's still just kind of like a cat burglar on the side, right? So she hasn't really completely dove into the Catwoman,
Exactly. And I really liked all the mystery behind the Riddler's attacks. And it felt very Saw, like horror, scary in that sense, which I love those movies. I love like horror. So it was very detective horror feel. And I really like that aspect of it. So all the like gruesomely creative like murders throughout were very interesting and smart.
Yeah, Reeves definitely took a lot of inspiration from movies like Seven and Saw, and just things like that. Obviously, Saw was a big one because when he came out with the bomb, everybody was like, "Oh my God, we've been here before." What about you, Nelly? What were some of your favorite parts of the movie?
I think one of my favorite things that I think any true Batman film does really good is that it treated Gotham like its own character, right? Like Gotham was growing and evolving, and you got to know like the city and how it felt and moved around the people around it. And I feel like this movie did that really, really well in a way that does make me more excited for like spin-off content. On top, of course, the like year 2 Batman, I think is just such a good like underrated Batman to explore. Like he's just a fucking goofball. Like he has no idea what he's doing. He's just like, I have money and sometimes I spend it on things to fight bad guys. Like he has that one scene towards the end and it like makes me laugh, but it's so accurate that like he's just taken what I think is adrenaline. Like chat's arguing on it right now. I think it's just like a shot of adrenaline that just is green because that's what it would have looked like in the comics. Would have been bright and colory. And then he turns around to Gordon. He's like, ugh. And I'm like, that's fucking goofy is what that is. That's like, I have rage, manly rage. And yeah, that's my thoughts on Batman.
Oh, also another part I liked about this movie was his eyeliner.
It was so good.
I'm sorry, there's a cat. Oh my.
Can't tell.
Catwoman.
Catwoman.
She heard us talking about her kind. Yeah, they were like, I heard you mentioned my name.
Talking about me.
But no, chat was talking about that. I think it was Venom. I really do. I think, and I get that I get people. It was a red herring or something like that. But I think Venom was around before Bane. Bane gets addicted to Venom as well, and I think Batman being addicted to Venom. There's a whole comic about that where he has to get clean from it. And so like with a lot of like addiction undertones and everything, which I think Robert Pattinson would fit great for if we needed to do a Batman addict, you know what I mean?
His whole GQ cover.
Oh, because that's kind of what we got when we saw Bruce Wayne. It was an addict. It was a guy who he doesn't sleep. He's 100% in on something. That's all he thinks about. That's all he wants. And so like that's why he looked cracked out the whole time. I think if I'm going into some of my favorite parts of it, it was overall it was a good movie. I think it was a good Batman movie. I think it was a great movie, or a great Batman movie and a good movie, if that makes sense, right? And so like it was I liked a lot of the shots. I think it was very beautifully shot. There was a lot of really cool things. The fucking soundtrack was mint.
Oh my God, yeah.
I want to say
expected in a Batman movie.
Oh yeah, dude, some of the stuff, yeah, I definitely wouldn't expect in a Batman movie, like the Something's in a Way, Nirvana, or like that whole scene.
He said that was like a major inspiration for how he built the Batman. Like that Batman was inspired by Kurt Cobain.
Yeah,
which I think is genius. And to your point about the addicts, I mean, that's spot on.
Yeah, and it's very grungy, which is very 90s, kind of like, it's almost like they said, Tim Burton took the grunge and made it cartoony. We're going to take the grunge and make it grungy. And so like
90s Seattle vibes.
But it definitely does have that whole vibe to it. And so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed those parts of it. I thought the soundtrack was awesome. I think the whole fucking shadows scene, that whole scene where like all of the every one of the guys start like looking over into the shadows and stuff, and they're all afraid at like which one, you know, Batman could come out at any time. That shit was dope. That was so cool. And the car chase scene, I did have a little bit of beef with that, but overall, really cool Batmobile. Really cool Batmobile. I think Colin Farrell was phenomenal as
Unrecognizable.
Oswald. Unrecognizable.
So good.
And Zoe Kravitz was phenomenal as Catwoman. I thought she did a great job too. Like overall, I liked a lot of things. But I'm gonna kick off with my worst part of it, which was that it was 3 fucking hours. Like, yeah, dang. Like that's a long ass movie. And I'm older, so like I'm not necessarily one of these people who can say that TikTok and Vine and like all of that stuff has like ruined my attention span, because like I'm used to old, you know, long movies and stuff like that. But 3 hours, boy, I was strapped in. That was my biggest beef with this movie, is that there are just some parts that drag. I didn't know when it was over. Every time I thought it was over, something else happened. By the time the fucking city started to be flooded, I was just like, yeah, I was like, this movie could have been over twice. Like we could have already went home. Is this the sequel? Like, and so like it was extremely too long. We touched on it a little bit at the beginning. I agreed with Braun, and I think the love scenes between Zoe Kravitz with Rob Pat. Now, while as a human being, yeah, I loved seeing it. They're gorgeous people. Kiss more. But it's still one of those where I didn't think it didn't need to be there, you know? It didn't really add any flavor to anything for me besides the fact that it's just like, oh, here's a love interest. And I hate it when movies do that, to think they need to appeal to somebody, like as if it's like, we got to put in that rom-com element for the ladies or something, you know, because it's just like, you don't. Just make a good movie, you know, like people are going to enjoy it. But that's probably my biggest ones, is the biggest beef is that it went on too long. And it was just too long. That's probably my biggest beef. Nelly, we'll start with you since we started with Braun last time. What's your worst part of this movie?
I think my worst part kind of ties into your worst part about the length of it, which I think was just not editing as tight as they could have, which includes dialogue. So there were parts of the dialogue that I think ruined the emotional impact of scenes. I think that the reason that we didn't think there was chemistry between Batman and Catwoman is because the dialogue just should have ended before she went in for that kiss. Like, he was kind of like rambling on, and she was like, I'm going for it. And it felt like if he had just ended that sentence and then she had kissed him, it would have felt so much more natural and like made a lot more sense and added to the like tension that they were having, where he was like, I'm done with this sentence.
Consent.
And then, yeah, like it just, she was like, I'm gonna slide right in there. And it didn't vibe with me. There was the scene with Alfred that I know was supposed to be like a super impactful, emotional scene. Like, he's just waking up. And it felt like, instead of Batman kind of just making the point, because he had said, I've been thinking about this, and this is the like conclusion that I've come to, he kind of rambled around and then fell into the point that he was making. And it just ruins the emotional impact of that scene. Like, I'm a huge movie crier. If you've been to the movies with me, I cry like 3 times minimum. I didn't cry once during that movie. And there was an Alfred in a hospital. I should have cried. I didn't feel like it drove me in. Yeah.
What about you, Braun? What's some of your big beefs with this movie overall?
I'm honestly not that big of a fan of the Rob Pat Batman.
Oh.
So maybe it's just Batman in general, but everything just felt super one note, and he didn't seem that interesting. Like, I didn't really care too much about him as a character.
Gotcha. As Batman or as Bruce Wayne, or do you differentiate the two?
Oh, maybe more as Bruce Wayne, because the Batman seems... Actually, no, as both, because even when he's like talking and emoting like as Batman, like it just felt very like boring to me. I was more interested in like the story, like what was happening in this world, okay, like, this is the problem we're solving, and like the mystery that we're like going into. But like, I never really like would just see him on screen talking and be like, wow, I'm like hanging on every word. Like, this is so interesting. He just felt very boring to me.
Almost like Gotham was more interesting than Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess then we'll start with you on this one, Braun. Where do you rank it as far as your Batman movies go? Do you think this is better than Nolan's, better than 1989, worse than? Where do you put it on your list?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad movie, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was different, but I think the Christopher Nolan Batman was better in my opinion. Like, I enjoyed that more. I think that like that world, I guess. But and my favorite Batman of all time will always be Tim Burton.
Gotcha. What about you, Nelly?
This one's hard because, and we've had this conversation with like the MCU. I have an opinion of it now that will likely change based off of how it impacts the DC universe and like what else we get from it. Like, is this going to set the stage for some of my favorite things? If it does, it's probably one of my favorites. Like, I love the stage that they're setting if they actually go that direction with it. But as it stands, I'd say that I put Nolan here, and then Tim Burton here, and then the Batman here is probably about the vibe that I go with.
Ooh, nice. So see, I'm gonna go. I got to go a little crazy on mine. So I think my favorite Batman is 1989. That's just hands down my favorite Batman. It's the one I grew up with. Jack Nicholson's my Joker. Hashtag my Joker. And so like,
Wait, which one is Batman in '89? Is it the nipple one?
No. That's George Clooney's Batman. That's Batman Returns, I believe, or Batman Forever. But no, Batman 1989 is just called Batman, and it's the first Tim Burton film. It's got Jack Nicholson as the Joker. That's probably my number one.
Okay.
And then I'm putting The Dark Knight, which is obviously the Joker one again, because I'm a slut for Joker. That's my number two. And then this is like my number three. I think this is a number three when it comes to Batman movies. And so, but that's where I rank it on Batman movies. And that's where it ranks for us on Batman movies. Nelly, if you had to give it a score out of 10, tell the people, what would you give the Batman?
Independently, I'm going to give it a 7. And if you haven't seen it, in which case I don't know why you're watching the show, I think you can wait. I think you can wait to watch it when it releases on streaming in a month. I don't think you have to pay to go to theaters for this. You should be able to pause it and pee. What?
Is it coming out that quickly?
Yeah, it's coming out pretty quick. It's like mid-April, end of April. Like, it's coming out quickly. I think you should wait and then be able to pause it to go pee.
I agree. I leave and pee halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 hours. Yeah, you'd have to. My biggest beef.
Draft house drinking like beers the whole time.
You feel like you owe them more money.
Yeah, I don't think the movie is worth risking a kidney infection. Just wait a month and a half.
So Nelly's giving it a 7 out of 10. Braun, what are you ranking this one?
I think 7 out of 10. It's like where I was gonna hit too, because I like enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie, but I mean, I don't think that it was amazing. Or yeah, there was a bad.
7 out of 10.
It's bad.
Gotcha.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I think I said
7.5. Let's give it a little bit higher. It's gonna be 7.5 out of 10.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, and I'm really not far off. I'm at an 8.5. I think that's what I gave it, was an 8.5 out of 10. So we're really not that far off from each other.
Maybe you have to pee less often than I do. Maybe that like impacts. They should do a study on that. Like how often do you normally pee versus how much did you enjoy the Batman?
That would be such a specific but amazing study. I think that you should spearhead this, Nelly.
Good. I'm gonna do it.
Most
We're
definitely.
gonna Nerd Herd.
I will
coming
say,
at you.
if you have been, if she's listening right now, because I see we've actually got a good bit of viewers. Jessica fell asleep in it and liked the first half of it so much though that she was like, I want to go see it again. And I was like, well, let's just wait till it gets on stream and we'll watch it at the house or whatever. But to her defense,
that's a you problem, Jessica.
she had like a glass of wine before. And that'll put you down, that happens. And so tis life. But that'll about wrap it up. Well, I said 8.5. Never mind. I already gave my score, so we're good. That's going to wrap it up for the first half of our show. But don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to deep dive into time travel, and then we're going to be closing out the whole thing with the top 10 as voted on by the Nerd Herd, your top 10 time machines. So stick around. We've got a lot more show coming at you. We're going to be back in 5. And thank you for the new followers real quick. Let me what was that? Who do we have? Who did we have?
We had Bethany.
We had Bethany, and we got a cheer from Pickly. Thank you. And
thank you, Pickly.
Awesome with the subscribe. Thank you, Kev. Thank you all for tuning into the first half. It's only 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. I'm seeing some people drop off. I don't know where the fuck you're going.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing.
right back. And you have
we
time to
can talk
pee.
4
We get
hours.
pee breaks. This isn't
Yeah.
Batman.
We care about your
3
health.
hours long and you can't leave the whole time.
We'll be right back after these messages.